Hey everyone, and welcome back to Across the Neurodivide. This is the podcast where myself and the incredible Tigger Pritchard talk about things. Yay! We talk about all things neurodiversity and, backwards and forwards. Myself as a neurotypical, Tigger as neurodivergent, and we talk about all the sort of things that affect us, and the idea is to bridge that gap between neurotypical and neurodiverse. So Tigger, how are you this week, my man?
Well, it's that rush up to that particular event, isn't it? So I've done a festive little Tigger behind me. It's just lots going on. Right up to Christmas, isn't it? End of another calendar year. I'm always one of those people that likes January the 1st, I'm going to start to do this, but I've started to do it now. So I've just upped my exercise program again from what it has been, which has been non-existent.
I've got to do that.
Right, and I thought
after Christmas, there's no point before.
I just thought no, don't start Christmas. Start now. So I've kind of got this new beginnings in my head for 2022, and also with respect to all my awesome family, getting through Christmas, and I do get through Christmas in my particular way, I must confess. So yeah.
How is it you do that? That's something I wanted to ask. For you. Obviously, I did a video just recently on getting through Christmas with my daughter and how we sort of dial things back in certain ways to allow her to have the best of times, but while also allowing her not to sort of trigger into that overreact. How do you manage that?
As an older autistic individual, I am still learning from the greats that are out there. In some ways, I'm able to recognise what gets to me a bit more than I have been over the years. Over the years, I'd have burnouts, fallouts, as I might call them, after Christmas, and not realise why. Or run-ups to Christmas, I'd be really stressful and really anxious. I am, it has to be said, mad about Christmas. So if I could show you, I can't, I'll send you some pictures, but if I could show you my flat, it is covered in all handmade stuff. When I used to work at college, I used to work with students, and they handmade hearts and Christmas trees. I've got a driftwood Christmas tree. I've got those candle lights.
Did you see? Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
So you can tell that's the whole of my flat. So I am Mr. Christmas in some ways, and I've got the place is just covered in decorations. And some people go, well, you're really into Christmas, and yet sometimes you say you're not. And I go, well, yeah, I'm really into Christmas here because I'm totally in control of it. So one of the things I do is I'm totally in control of my environment here. So I love putting the decorations out. I put them a bit late this year. It took me a while to get into the Christmas spirit. And I spend an evening doing it. And I have a routine of doing it. So I play the old like 1950s tracks and so on. And I might have a mince pie and a glass of port or ginger wine, which is only left over from the year before. And I make a whole event of it. And it's just me, really. Which means it's something I would discuss with my partner when we live together, because it's going to have to change. It's going to be an us thing, not a me thing. So at the moment, one of the things I do is I control Christmas where I am, and I have movies I want to watch. So I have set classics I want to watch. And when I was single on my own, I used to watch, the black and white Scrooge, the gorgeous one. I used to watch that. Literally, I started watching that at like 10 or 11 o'clock Christmas Eve. So I could, and I used to time it so that when he wakes up on Christmas Day, this is terrible, isn't it? When he wakes up on Christmas Day, it would be Christmas Day. I'll be like, yeah, it's Christmas Day. So I do the whole journey with him. So it's kind of like an aspect of how we do it is I'm comfortable with what's around me. And then that gives me a buffer, along with all the other things I've learned to do in my older years, to reduce the stress. I mean, if I tell you now, I know every single present I'm getting on Christmas morning. Every single present. In fact, you don't even have to wrap them up. I'm happy. Yeah. And I'm happy. I am so happy I know what I'm getting. One person, they all remain nameless, who is actually really quite good over the years, is getting me a surprise. And I even said to it, my partner's daughter, even said, look, can you check? Can you please find out what it is? Can you vet it for me? Can you check it? Because that one present, she watches this, I'm done for. That one present on Christmas Day is making me really anxious, because I don't know what I'm getting. And she hasn't done bad in the past. She's got me some brilliant stuff. I mean, she got me a gorgeous Baby Yoda a couple of Christmases ago, which was spot on and everything. Yeah, I know, and stuff like that. But because I don't know what it is, it's like I don't know what it is because it's and other family members just can't get it. What is he I've got around it by saying, "Oh, just buy me something I want. Here, I like this, and I don't explain it to them. The idea of getting a Christmas present, I don't know what it is, drives me with fear. But the idea of getting any present, Christmas present, birthday present, and knowing what it is fills me with utter delight. So I've just built my own strategies, and I'm recognizing them even more.
That's interesting. I mean, that's one of the things Sienna hates, surprises, and they do the same thing. So, I mean, we've got it so that she's gone through and picked, so she knows whatever she gets, it's from a list of stuff that she's selected. Quite what she's getting from that, she doesn't know, but we know we're safe with it because she's comfortable with it. We've done that whole thing, and it is a challenge because the part of the trickery is that my son loves the surprise. He doesn't want. He's picked stuff he wants, but he doesn't know what he's getting, and it's trying to keep Sienna to keep that under wraps for him, because it creates the same anxiety for her, knowing that he's got a surprise coming, kind of thing. And it's really difficult to find that balance in it, but we manage somehow.
There's one of the great bloggers out there, and I won't name them in case I get them wrong, but they put a post up a couple of weeks ago about how to create such a low demand environment on Christmas Day and before Christmas. Sometimes they have Christmas Day on December the 20th because they just can't wait. Yeah. It's too much. The anticipation is way too much. But also they were saying that they literally put the presents under the tree. I think there's a sibling in the family, if memory serves. Though I might be wrong. And it was nothing's wrapped. Nothing's wrapped. It's all under the tree. It's even the demand of wrapping is taken away, which is gorgeous. Yeah. And that low demand of it is just there.
I found often Sienna likes the wrap stuff now, but it's something she's grown into. She used to hate having stuff wrapped, and it was actually part of it was the sound of the paper tearing. It was that hidden aspect to it that she didn't like, and it was sensory overload.
All I want to do is tidy the mess. I literally sit there with a black carrier bag, and I'm thinking, can we recycle it? Can we reuse it? And I'm thinking, honestly, if you looked at my flat. You saw the picture last night. It is covered in Christmas stuff, and I hope very tasteful Christmas stuff. I said handmade and vintage and stuff like that. But on the day, I'm like, I just want to tidy it, unwrap it, put it away. You're making a mess. I keep thinking, what? And I do sometimes think, why the wrapping paper? I don't send Christmas cards, which I should put a post out soon. I hope my partner does. She contacted me the other night and said, "Do you want to put your name on the Christmas cards?" I can't stand writing either. From a sensory viewpoint, the feedback is grotesque. And I just went, yeah, go on. And then she was just, why? And she still doesn't get it. Why don't you send Christmas cards? I just don't like, I think they're, environmentally not on. And I think that they're, from the writing viewpoint, I can't stand it. And I just think it's just Merry Christmas. I can do a video, I can put posts out. But I suppose, this is transitioning from older years to technology years, maybe as well. But for Christmas, no, I've worked out a very clipped set of routines and structures, which are mine, which keep me safe, which keep me secure. But when I worked and taught in a local college, we never used to do Christmas as such. And the staff used to be why. And I used to go, because some of the awesome students that come here, the stress is so much that all I'm doing is creating anxiety for them in an education environment. And that's wrong. And it used to be like, so during the last week of term, when other people would be watching videos and having their parties and so on, I'd have lessons. Because for the students I worked with, it was routine, it was structure, it was predictability, and it was safety. And I really got that. So yeah, I've just worked out my routines and I love them. But they are, as I point to my phone, which is there, I'm still exploring lots of things that I know trigger me and lots of ways of getting my spoons back and so on. I'm still learning. But yeah, so very much to a certain degree, but I will at times at Christmas run away and hide and recharge my batteries and come back here. So they're all strategies I've worked, but I've worked them out because I'm getting on a bit and because I've learned from awesome people before, really.
Well, let's move on from that, because what we've got planned for this week. So in the 2 episodes we've done so far, we've been appealing to you guys to send us in information and ask some questions so that we can batter them about. So we've selected 3 for this week that we've had from the previous couple of episodes. And Tigger, what's our first one? And who's it from?
So the first one is from Michelle. And it'd be great to hear about how compatible UK mainstream education is for neurodivergent children who have a PDA profile? How many families, individuals are successful in achieving this? Or is it even the right approach? Is this even the right question to ask? So many questions. The smiley face. Can you help? Yes. Or is this even the right approach? That's an awesome question, isn't it?
It is actually a really awesome question, because asking that question of is this even the right question is the right question, ironically. Because I mean, I'll shoot on this, because obviously we went through this with getting Sienna educated. And give a brief history of what we went through was we started reception, and she was that they picked up something was different straight away and needed to be addressed, because she just couldn't focus in class at all, and she'd run out of the classroom. And in the end, the school actually set it up so that everything was safe for a lap around the school. So she bolted. She could just do laps around the school until she tired herself out, and then she'd come back in. But she was out of class most of the time. They set up a sensory area for her outside the classroom, which was a brilliant thing to do. And her first school were really good. They had a one-to-one for her. But in the end, she was just out of class so much. She wasn't learning. She ended up repeating reception, which is really unusual. But at the end of the second run through of reception, they said to us, look, she's just not going to cope with year one. We think she needs to go into SEND school. And I was originally, I'm not having a go. To me, it was all, I was focused on mainstream for some reason, but it was more that I didn't understand SEND schools. My opinion was sort of along the lines of, how does that work? You go slower so they can catch up? That doesn't make sense to me, But it was clear that she wasn't coping. And then actually what we had to do was we'd moved at that point, and we had to shift schools. So she went to another mainstream school local to us. And we thought it would be really good because it was a small school. But they were dreadful. They didn't understand her at all. They didn't put things in place that were needed. She ended up being excluded for over half the week. Every week she was there, and she was only there for half a term. And thankfully, we managed to, through all that was going on, that we found a school that was suitable for her, and it was actually quite local. And it's been a godsend for her. It's just been the best thing, because there's small classes, no more than 4 to 6 students in each class. Everybody has a one-to-one 24/7 all the time that they're there. They have breakout rooms designed so that if they're getting overwhelmed, they've got somewhere to go that they can break out to, or if they're being disruptive, they can go and it's a safe place, and they've got them decked out in different things. For her, it was the best thing. And I think that's the key for me, was for her, it was the best thing. I'm completely turned around now. I wish every school worked the way my daughter's school worked, because it's just astonishing. But every kid's different. And I think this is something that we go through, and, especially for people at the beginning of coming to understand autism and neurodiversity and PDA and all that kind of stuff. You're not sure what's going on, and you get wrapped up in what traits and all this kind of stuff, and how do I know if my child's autistic? How do I know if they're neurodivergent in some way or another? And that's the thing, is that every kid's different, every person's different, and every autistic person is different, every neurodivergent person is different, and different things are going to apply to different people. And I think it's really you've almost got to kind of be able to step out the box and be very kind of coldly analytical about it, in a sense of what are my child's needs and how are they going to be met in mainstream, or is it going to be something they can meet in special educational needs? And when you drew that back, it was, for my daughter, it was, she wasn't coping with the class sizes, even with a small school. She wasn't coping with the rigidity and the routine that was just so ingrained. PDA and the demand side of it was just something she couldn't cope with. When I took a step back and sort of actually thought about all the things that she needs to be able to get a decent education, there was no way that mainstream school for her was going to work. I remember we had to go for it. My daughter's it's a private SEND school, and we had to go for like an interview beforehand. So they need to make sure she's going to fit in and all that kind of stuff. And the head teacher took 2 minutes with her, just had a brief chat. She went off to play with one of the staff, while we had our meeting. And she said, well, straight away I can see this, and this. And this is how we can, handle all that kind of stuff. And it was, for me, it was like, we've been saying this for so long. Why how can you 2 minutes with her and you can see it? Why can't anybody else see this?
It's I could go on for 10 hours on this question. I don't think I'll try and condense it. I always say we're all on a journey, and you've got to respect where people are on the journey, be it an autistic individual, parents, family members, peers, professionals, etc. We're all on a journey of understanding what it means to be neurodivergent, what it means to be an autistic individual, PDA, so on and so forth, and that in itself causes problems. You have and the journey's difficult. The journey's really difficult for everybody, for insight, for understanding, for professionals and so on. Parents, misinformation, not the right information. They go to professionals who they hope will give them, try this, try that, and so on. The professionals themselves are on a journey. And this is a real bugbear of mine. I think I said it before on here, and I apologize. They honestly believe they might have the most up-to-date training. Yeah. Because it's CPD accredited and ticked by various bodies and so on. And it's not, it's horrendously out of date. So you go to see a professional, or a family goes to see a professional, they honestly believe what they're telling you is the truth, is spot on, and it's not. And there's all those ripples of ramifications from that. But, I was in education for 17, 18 years. And the one thing I learned from great people that taught me is that if it works for that individual, I really can't. If it works for that individual, and you're right, though, that diverseness of the planet is awesome. I've got similarities like the sensory-based stuff and so on with loads of other individuals that I know who are awesomely autistic and so on. But we're all different. And if you get a strategy, ideas, thoughts, approaches that work for that child, then they work for that child. And so to me, it's like the bigger picture of getting a school that's progressive enough to understand that they need to keep looking for better training and thinking outside the box and researching and accepting. So many or several education establishments I go to, we've had the training, we know what we're talking about. And I still meet professionals who have done, like 6 hours training what it means to be neurodiverse, autistic, whatever. They then believe they're experts. Yeah. No, you're not. But I do meet some professionals that continue and learn and follow, various websites and videos and books and go on great courses and so on and so forth. And I do believe that percentage is changing.
There's an interest that some have. I've got at my son's school, one of the teachers there has been learning heaps, has been coming to me asking loads of questions. Yeah, it's fantastic that there's that passion there behind it, and you can see that in it. And I mean, the difficulty is, and I'm sure you'll have stuck on this, is, getting EHCPs is such a challenge anyway. And sadly, to be in any kind of special educational needs school, you need to have an EHCP. So push for EHCPs. You have every right to get them.
Yeah. I mean, I do a lot of work with schools and colleges, and one of the first things I look at is what's the level of anxiety that person is at, if I can use that term. How anxious are they when they arrive at school? So what can you do before school? And I was working somewhere the other day, and I said to them, look, can I contact your taxi drivers to talk to them about what it means to be autistic, talking about the smells in the car, the radio. Yeah. Oh, I'll just put the radio on because he or she or they really like that. Actually, no, they don't. Maybe they don't. Maybe they just want silence on the journey. What aftershave to use and stuff like that. And I've worked before in the past very successfully in this county, especially, and once in the Midlands, with a school that literally brought all the taxi individuals in for training. And it transformed that journey from home to school.
That's amazing. I love that.
Which I think it is. If I'm up there before I get to school, then school is going to be even more complex. So if I'm down there, maybe I can cope with the little pinpricks of anxiety and demand that school gives me. Maybe you said it really early on. It's what works for that person. I know some individuals, some autistic individuals, some PDAs where school is great, and I know some where school is just no. It's never going to happen. And it's the individual. Meet the needs of that individual. And for professionals, you'll like this one, I hope. This is part of one of the presentations I do big time. And it's listen to parents. Please listen to parents. When I work with families, I say to people, I often say this thing, which is, I tell you what, I've just found I've really found a great professional for your kids. So I was on a family chat with someone the other week, and I went, and I do this all the time, and I've done it for years. And I quit. If you want to find the best professional for your child, the person that knows the most, that understands them really well, and so on and so forth, apart from themselves, I go, quick, go and look in the mirror. Because that is really it, yeah. And I know so many professionals that do stand there and go, sorry, you know, I've been there on my 6-hour training course. I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, you live it on average 23 hours, 56 minutes and 4 seconds every day. There's a difference.
I had a chat with a teacher recently in a really positive way. They were looking for the same teacher, actually looking for information and wanting to know more. And they said, you know, how do you, we were talking about masking. And she said, what's, you know, how do I know they're masking then? And I said, well, there's a few things. And I went through echolalia and looking for minor stims and hidden stims or you know, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I went through all that stuff. So I said, but the biggest thing you can do, take the 10 minutes when it's school pickup, watch them leave and how they respond to their parents. If they start acting out straight away, I mean, they might wait till they get home, and that's something you can't see. But often, the second they leave, they're into their safe person and the behaviour changes. And if you can see that immediate change, that's a surefire sign.
Hey, here comes some stims, you know, stuff like that. And it's,
yeah.
But I also say to parents, when you find a professional that's that awesome, don't let them go. Hug them, which is difficult in this present climate. But I also say to professionals, you know, I say this, all the guys I teach, really awesome individuals, and I say, look, you're here, which means you want to learn. You've had great questions. You're going to go back to the families of the children that are at your school. You're going to approach the family. The parents are going to be really suspicious, first of all, because an awful lot of professional interaction, regrettably, is negative. But there are more and more professionals out there that like the individual, you know, that are thinking outside the box, that are researching what they're asking questions, because they know at the end of the day, it's not just for the child's benefit and the family's benefit, it's for their benefit as a professional. Yeah. You know, their classroom environment works better. People educate, people learn, and the anxiety levels are much lower. So getting back to that question, yeah, it's individual. What works best for that person, and it may be in school, it may be outside school, it may be a mixture of, it might be thinking outside of the box.
So what was the next one, and who was it from?
The next one is from Yvette, and this is an awesome discussion. Thank you for saying that so much. As in typical, I sometimes find myself feeling lost, as if I'm somewhat swallowed up by having to always take my family's needs into consideration. Don't get them wrong, I love them with all my heart, but how does one keep a balance while taking care of myself and my needs too? So what she's talking about is the fact she's neurotypical, in a neurodiverse family, and to a certain degree there, it's trying to take care of those two awesome individuals she's with, but also taking care of herself and her needs too. Oh, I always find these ones difficult because I want to give so many examples, and I think I can't really give really good examples sometimes because I haven't asked permission yet. I think it's all to do with communication, and it's agony, because sometimes that communication is, as an autistic individual, trying to say, I need this because that hurts me, because I have to do this now because, as we're all on that journey, is still really difficult. And I think that I know that, you know, the only way we're going to continue as and grow as a family, because we're planning to move near your neck of the woods in the future. We've spoken about already, which would be lush. And I, you know, and I've already written down all the things I need on my phone, but also there's things that my partner needs, and we have to sit down and talk. And I mean, I'll give this an example. Here we go. Transitions. One of our most complex moments in time is transitions. When I've been on my own for a while, she's been with her family for a while, and then we meet. And we've had to work really hard on making those transitions happen because I'm anxious. I'm nervous. She comes here into my safe zone with all my routines and structures and stuff around me. And I like to, you know, make sure here is as safe as possible. It's my go-to place when I'm really anxious and stressed, of course. And I've already worked out that an area in the house that's mine, when we live together, will be really important because I can just go there and it's mine and I'm safe. Might be a shed in the back garden. But it's all about it's painful, it's difficult, it's gorgeous, it's lush, it's awesome, it's complicated, it's sitting down and talking. And the hardest thing is, I mean, I said this the other day, and look, I'm putting my hand over my eyes because it came out really wrong. There was an angel in my head and it came out as a dragon. But I said to my awesome partner, look, when we live together, can I give you how to close door examples? And she looked at me, she went, what? I said, can I show you how to close doors properly? And then, you know, you see the reaction on the person's face. You think, yeah, that came out really wrong, Tigger. You meant to say, because when he closes doors and they bang, it really, really hurts me. It really frightens me. It really hurts from a sense viewpoint. It is mind-numbing. So when she leaves the house sometimes, I put my fingers in my ears. That's my strategy.
Yeah.
And then I said to her, look, when we live together, can I show you how to close doors properly? Yeah, that's not really what I should have said at that moment in time, I think, yeah. But then we expanded upon that. We talked about it and get back to the question here. She basically said to me, you know, I need you to tell me as much as you can and give me examples. I've now started to send in her stuff, which is new. I said, hey, have a look at this. We started watching some neurodiverse content together, so some plays, some YouTube stuff, so we can ask questions of each other. We watched that the BBC One documentary. We watched that together. And paused it and talked and extrapolated and looked at her journey to come and so on and so forth. But then she conversely is saying to me, you know, do you know how stressful it is when you do this? You know how stressful it is when you do that? And we've just tried, and it is difficult to talk to each other so much. And so we've started, and this is recent, so we've started about, these are my needs. And then she'll be saying, well, look, okay, we live in a neurodiverse planet. These are my needs. And how can we work on them both together? And it is really, it's personal to us because we're all individuals, like the previous question. And we're having to recognize, to understand our needs as two different neural types and about what we do and what we have to do to reduce our anxiety and our stress, if that makes sense. But to me, it all boils down to communication. And I think the hardest part, from my viewpoint, is like when I did that, I will say it and it can come out sounding like it's incredibly rude, it's incredibly targeted, it's incredibly offensive. And in my brain, it doesn't sound that way.
No.
Yeah. And then it's helping that other person to count to 5, count to 10, whatever, or in her case, maybe count to 14,363. and go, right, Tigger didn't mean it like that, but it well sounded like it, right? But also, you know, me acknowledging what she needs in her life to reduce her anxiety, to reduce the stress and her time and so on.
I think that's really key. I mean, delving into that question in a deeper way as well, as a parent, so something that is that whole finding time for you. And I went through this and I still go through this. And it's one of those things that's really hard to deal with in many ways, because family does take over your life. And I mean, you're a parent, that's what happens. You know? I'm a husband and I'm a father, and those things are my priorities. And, you know, you put yourself down the list. There's a problem with that. And it's one of those things that's counterintuitive. And so I've actually spoken about this a number of times, because I learned that. So, you know, the great example, and I love using it, is the planes. When you hop on a plane and you sit down and the stewards come out, or the stewardesses, and they say, okay, here's the safety rundown. And they go through a list of stuff. And one of the things they say is that at some point, it may be that the oxygen masks drop from the plane. Secure yours first if you've got kids before you put them on anybody else. And the reason for that is because if you haven't got yours secured and you're not safe, you're going to be unconscious and useless for the rest of the duration of whatever the problem is. You need to be there. And I found this it translates so well, because it's the same for me with my family. I need to be at my best, and I need to take time for me to be at my best if I'm going to be my best for them. And it feels selfish. It feels very selfish, because sometimes I just need to do something that sets me right. But if I don't do that, then I'm only going to be a second-rate or third-rate version of me for my family, and that's not healthy. And finding your place in that. So we put ourselves at the bottom of the list so often. And when you've got, as a neurotypical with neurodivergent family members, it's one of those things that it can be very difficult, because I have to prioritize certain things. I need to make sure my family, you know, my wife has specific medications, and I have to make sure she has them when they're there and they're available. If she's particularly ill of a day, you know, she's got fibromyalgia, so she has days where she's just completely wiped out and bedridden all day. making sure that things are taken care of, and I've got to make sure the kids are at school or home from school, and make sure they're fed, they're clean, they're set for bed, and all that kind of stuff. It's there's and every parent has to do that, but when you've got the neurodivergent side of it, so my daughter being PDA, trying to do it in such a way that you're reframing demands so that they don't feel like demands, and you're trying to address the anxieties and keep them at a minimum and stuff like that, and you just keep getting nudged down the ladder of importance. And I think you have to be able to set yourself a bit of time in the day or the week. So I stay up late quite often. I might head up to bed and I just take an hour. I'll watch something, or I'll just read stuff, but it's just me time, because I need that to recharge. Every battery needs to recharge. We need to recharge.
Definitely.
And it's funny. I mean, what I'd say is find something that works. What's something that you love to do? So find that one thing. And so for me, music is a huge thing. Music is my refuge. It's my go-to. It makes me happy. It makes me feel things, and it takes me to another place. It's a beautiful thing. So just being able to, put my earphones in at night and listen to an album, listen to a song, listen to a bunch of songs, and chill out and refresh myself that way. I'll pick up my guitar at some point if I can eke out 10 minutes in the day and I pick up my guitar. I feel so much better about things, because that's just my expressive way of doing things. What's the thing that you love doing? Is it crafting? Is it just going for a walk? Is it the gym? Is it, literally just sitting down and watching Judge Judy for half an hour? I don't know, but whatever your thing is, make sure you've etched that into the day just at some point. And if it means you might lose a bit of sleep to take that time, for me, that was more important, and that's the way I had to do it, was to work it in that way.
There's a friend of mine who does a page called the Passable Parent, who is really superb, and she is awesome, and lives in quite an interesting family. We were chatting once, and it's talking about because sometimes as a parent you are that person's main protector, almost fighter, school, education, transport, whatever, and you are exhausted. And she spoke about, even if it's a half a minute micro meditation on the kitchen floor, grab it. If it's there was somebody else I spoke to, and they literally, their kids are older, and they walked outside the shop. So they walked outside their house to the shop and back, which was a journey of maybe 5 minutes, but they had maybe 2 or 3 minutes outside that shop where they were completely away from that environment, and they were like, and it just recharged their batteries, and they could do it, several times a day or so, and to grab stuff and so forth. It's just, the communication is the first bit, and it's what I was trying to get at there was it's the bit about my partner be able to say to me, "Hey, yeah, right, we've just done an awful lot of time on you, but there's two of us here, and you need to understand," and that's really important. And the other thing I think is that, as you said, anything you can grab. I do the lists on my phone. I'll show you one deal. We can go through them if I'm open enough. List of things I know that I need, that I want, that I can go to in certain situations. And I have a toolkit in my bag, which I never had before. So I have a little toolkit of things that de-stress me in the bag. Okay, look, it's going back to my partner again, because this is what it's all about, isn't it? She's a bird watcher. So she can literally grab 2 minutes looking outside the kitchen window. I made it, but set up this big bird table outside the house, trees, birds can come down, heaven, all the rest of it. That can be her micro meditation to shut away from my demands when I'm in that environment. And that is her focus upon that. And it just charges her batteries. And it's so important that individuals in the household keep all their levels of mental health and needs as topped up as possible. Because as you said, with the oxygen, I love that, with the oxygen mask coming down, you're right. If I'm not firing on all cylinders, whatever term you want to use, then I cannot give to other people. And it's the same in a family environment, parental environment, relationship environment. A good cup of coffee, a good cup of tea, 10 minutes with classic FM, blaring Queen in my headphones, sitting on the back porch having a cigarette. It's those things. Sorry, my father's on his own now, and I'm doing his shopping lists, which is quite a weird thing to do at my age. So he gets his shopping delivered, and he keeps buying this, I hope he doesn't mind me saying so, this Kiss caramel chocolate bar. and it's like, or product placement. Sorry, there are other bars available as well. And he said, I won't do his accent. Sorry, he's Welsh. So it was deep voice. And he just talked about just something he really looks forward to.
Yeah.
Is a chunk of chocolate, and the bar will last him a while. With me, it lasts like 3 minutes, yeah. But for him, it lasts a while. And I just thought, wow. And it's that there's little moments of, I know this is coming. I know I've got this to look forward to. But we do know in these awesome families that we have with a huge range of autistic individuals in them, you've got to grab it when you can. And it's almost having a toolkit, I think, somewhere on a phone, in your brain, in a book, in a bag. And I like toolkits at the moment because I'm like I've a lot. And it's having that toolkit there you can dip into really quickly. Because it's like, oh yeah, at 3 o'clock I'll relax. No, it doesn't work that way, does it? Yeah. And it's like, I can grab that now.
Yeah.
And maybe that could be really, really awesome as well.
Should we move on to the last one?
Yep. from Jessica. How do you help a neurodivergent partner when daily things irritate them without then irritating them yourself? So, example, cleaning, tidying, my partner gets irritated and it feels like almost claustrophobic. When he doesn't want to leave it to me, or taking medication or making important calls that can't be avoided. And this is one I struggle with myself as well. So I understand in a way, but I tend to get the same response. It's all about living together, I think.
Sounds to me like there's an element of demand avoidance going on there as well.
It's interesting.
The important call needs to be done, but then it becomes the demand anxiety that's created. The cleaning needs to be done, but it's creating a demand that is creating anxiety.
Again, it's that bit about understanding those two neural types. If there are two neural types there, some families there's multiple, whatever, but two different, that neurodivide is there. And it's that, again, I go back to that communication aspect, and it really is painful, I think, as an awesome autistic individual, having to say to somebody, this is what I'm going through. This is what I feel. This is how anxious I am. So I've tried to unmask in front of myself, which is difficult, and my partner on occasion. So I think I said once, she brought me, everything was perfect, coffee, cake, everything. And I went, can I tell you how this makes me feel? And she went, yeah. And I cried. I went, I'm so overjoyed. I cannot tell you, the weight of the cup is right. The contrast is right. That's not my favorite case that you make. And I went on. And I went, I'm so overjoyed. And then conversely, it was, I've got to tell you how I feel now. How do you feel now? And I just went, I'm reaching trauma. I'm reaching fight, flight, or freeze. I've got to get out. I'm frightened. She's going, but you were fine a minute ago. And I'm going, yeah, I wasn't. I was masking, and it's that bit about complex communication, I think. And it is really difficult because I sometimes think, how do I tell my partner, other individuals, that what they're doing is actually really scary, annoying, threatening me, traumatizing me, triggering me, but to them it's something so insanely trivial as closing the front door. And it's that, which have recent communication, I said, it's that communication that's really difficult. And I think that I'm on this journey at the moment. We're, as you know, planning to live together in the near future, and I'm kind of excited and yet petrified, and I'm dropping hints like, I need a place that's mine. So how about if I have one of those big office sheds in the back garden and all my stuff can be there and I can go there? And what I'm saying is, I need a room that's mine. I need somewhere I can go. And there's almost, it depends on the environment you've got as well. Some things I know that if they're going to happen, I will just remove myself from the environment. Or if she knows I need some stuff, she'll take the dogs out for a walk or go in the back garden or something. But I think it's sitting down, and it's really difficult. Honestly, the front door thing I want to do, I could do a whole session on front doors and banging, how they make me feel. As one example of something, traumatizes me really deeply. And I mean, honestly, I say that out loud, and there's that trained part of me over the years living in a neurotypical world of, what, banging doors is really bad for you? Yeah, it really is. I cannot tell you how traumatizing banging a door is to me. And too many of those during the day, and I am in trouble. And I have to do tons of stuff. So for that individual there, you're right. And to me, the demand thing, I have demand issues at times, and we've spoken about this again as well, my partner and I. The higher my level of anxiety is, the more I'm not demand friendly. Do you know what I mean? And I'm able to verbalize, I'll do that later on. Well, yeah, I'll do that first then. And I'd go almost through the strategies you see on that lovely curve at the PDA side. And so many people have spoken about over the years. It's like, I don't know. Oh, that's it. Hey, do you see so-and-so yesterday? I'll be directing, I'll be trying off, so on and so forth, just to reduce that demand at that moment in time.
Yeah.
But I don't. What are your thoughts on that one?
I think it seems to have become the theme of today, which is great. But it is that communication. But the communication can be a real challenge in itself. And what I mean by that is it's learning to not take, and it's from both sides, learning to not take things personally when they're expressed. And it's a very difficult thing because you're talking about very personal things. And, it took me a long time. We used to have quite a bit of conflict between myself and my wife because I didn't understand. At that time, we didn't understand there was neurodivergence as part of it. We didn't understand bipolar and autism and everything else. And, there was some situation I felt like I just couldn't win. No matter what I said or what I did, it was going to be the wrong thing. And I was sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I couldn't understand how to go.
Yeah, I've heard that one before, yeah.
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 It's really frustrating, especially when you don't understand it at any level. But once we came to understand, my wife has neurodivergencies, and there are a couple of different neurotypes going on in there, and different things that are affecting the way she processes the world, and the way it's just different from the way I process the world. And I mean, everybody's going to have arguments, and they're going to, that's reality. That's living with another human being that. No two perfect people in the world, and it's just going to be that constant thing. But it's learning that communication, but being able to step back and go, I think it's, for me, it was, I just offered it first. From my memory, I think I offered it first, was just, I'm not going to take this personally. I'm going to make a conscious decision. As you talk to me now, I'm not taking any of this personally. I'd like to know what it is that's going on here that's causing this. And you can tell me straight, and then we can process it. And that led to that sort of two-way communication that goes on. And we still fail it all the time. I still fail at it all the time. I still take things personally when I shouldn't. But that's just, I'm human, and they can feel personal when they're not meant to be. But it's things like understanding that my wife struggles with tones and stuff like that. So it's a common thing with autism. And so something that she may think has sounded perfectly reasonable has come across about as blunt as a sledgehammer on ice.
An image I shared ages ago, and I sent it. And I went, look, inside that guy's head is an angel, but outside of it is the devil. And I keep using that. I go, honestly, it started off as an angel in there. And I do that. Yeah. Honestly, that's what's going on there. But I know it didn't sound that way.
An inability to express the tone of something. So I can say, oh, you muppet. And it can sound, it's humorous and it's generous. Or I can go, you're a muppet. And it sounds aggressive. And you know what I mean? Two different tones. But for, people like my daughter and my wife, sometimes those tones are missed. And in expressing them back, they're missed. They're not able to process the tones that way. So what they think sounds like, you're a muppet, is actually you're a muppet, and their facial expressions don't match and their tone doesn't match. Because that's a common thing.
They're taking things literally as well. I mean,
yes.
What 14,000 examples? The ones I love are the ones like, do you want me to get your trainers? They're not trainers; they're trail shoes. Those are my trainers. Those are my trail shoes. Those are my walking boots, and those are my shoes. And they're all different. And it's like. It's like, I think we said this one before. My influence one is, I had to go shopping once, which I detest, by the way. I get distracted, so shopping to me turns into a 10-hour activity. And if they've changed where things are in the aisles, that is repulsive beyond belief. Look at my face, and I'm so sorry. That makes me so angry. And it was oranges on the list, so I got oranges. And the discussion was, we only have tangerines. I went, yeah, I know, but you put oranges on the list. Yeah, but we have tangerines. Yeah, I do, but you put oranges on the list. Why did you buy oranges? Well, we have tangerines because you put oranges on the list. If you put tangerines on the list, I would have got tangerines. But also, other things. I've that literal interpretation. I've seen some horrendously bad stuff, and I've said it very bluntly, where it's maybe not an angel in there, it's factual in there, but it comes out and I haven't understood the emotional consequences of what I'm saying. To me, it's totally valid in that moment in time. It's totally factual. It's totally logical. What I haven't understood sometimes is the emotional implications of what I've just said, which can be devastating and have been on occasions. And also vice versa, you know, we'll say something and I'll go, no, not literally. Oh, okay. And that started to creep into a language a bit. No, not literally. I'm like, oh, okay. Because part of me will go, why have you said that? Do you know what I mean? And I have to kind of like quell that really thinkly and try and quickly think with what I call my neurotypical brain and go, they didn't mean that, did they? No, they didn't. Right, okay. Yeah. And then I'm sitting there for ages in my head going, it's really stupid because they said it in the first place. They didn't mean it. Why don't they just say what they mean? Because then I'll ruminate on that for ages as well, going, stupid. And that'll make me anxious almost. I'm going, why can't you just say it as it is, for crying out loud? Because it's like, but it's communication again, isn't it?
The other thing I'm going to add in is if they're struggling with certain things, try and set things as a routine. So things like meds. And also, one of the things I've learned with Sienna with PDA is the allowing a sense of control in it. You know you've got to do something. That creates a demand. So how do we make it something? So the phone call that's got to be made. If there's something like that with Sienna, obviously she doesn't have any important phone calls that have to be made from her, but if there's something that has to be done, Christmas is a great example. So we're going to go for a walk at some point because you need to get out. But giving her the chance, when would you like to do that in the day? Where would it suit you best, and when would you feel most comfortable doing it? Offering it there as something that there's an element of control in can bring that back. And it's like, well, meds probably have to be taken at a certain time. So it's how can we make this work for you? And bringing it back into a thing of, you know, so I have to have for my wife, she has to have meds, she has to have them at certain times of the day. And it's, you know, I now know I get them out, I leave them out ready for her. And that way she has the choice to go and take them when she wants. It's not me sitting there forcing them down her throat. And I might have to remind, your meds are still there, you know. And that's just something that we've worked through. And it took time to get to a pattern that worked. But allowing that routine with an element of control in it, that way I'm not the overlord dictator. So
good demand I think of is, and this is something that my partner finds really good to understand is, yeah, but you could do that yesterday, yeah, but you did that last week. And what I'm trying to get her to understand now is that I use these mugs with lines on them, and they can be a demand mug, an anxiety mug, a sensory mug, a communication mug. When you get to the top, that's meltdown. Shutdown's a bit lower down, and then so on and so forth. And what we have to do, working together as individuals, is to learn to reduce those bits of water or demands that fill the cup, or sensory anxieties that fill the cup. And I said, and I've started saying to things like, "Oh, my anxiety cup is really high this month because this has happened, and Christmas is coming up, and you just moved home, and I couldn't do this, and so on and so on and so forth." So what would have been like a okay thing to ask in the summer is not an okay thing to ask now.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is helping her a bit, because so I'm trying to get across to her that my anxiety levels, my demand levels, they're all fluid. So I can go for a period where, hey, we're doing this, yeah, that's fine. Hey, we're doing this, well, no, sorry, no, hang on, break it down a bit, you know, etc., etc. Well, we did it 2 months ago and you were fine. Yeah, but this is what's happened 2 months ago. And my anxiety levels are now out there. So I do often say to people, think of the mugs that are there, and what may seem an okay activity, communication, whatever, to do 1 month may not be the following month or the next 6 months or the year later or whatever.
Absolutely.
Because that overall level of anxiety is forever fluid and changing. And so I've started to say, this is a recent one for me as well. Yeah, no, this is why at the moment I find that extremely challenging and threatening, because, and I say, so here's my graph over the past 6 or 7 months. And that was a pinprick, and that was a pinprick, and that was a pinprick, and that was a pinprick. So when you ask me that, boom, I'm straight up there. But if you've asked me there, it wouldn't have been, does that make sense? Yeah, it wouldn't have been as bad. Yeah. And I'm beginning to use that a lot because I'm having but you were fine with this last year. Yeah, I know, but that was last year, and this has happened since, or this is about to happen. I hope that makes sense. But demand mugs, anxiety mugs, sensory mugs, communication mugs, I use tons of them. and because they're visual, and they're beginning to help us, I think, a lot as well. Just to say, this is where I am now, but I might not be there in 3 weeks, but this is where I am now because of what's happened in the past 3 months.
That's pretty much what we've got for this one. That was the questions that we had to address. We want to hear from you guys. Please do. In the comments. This makes for great conversation and great debate and pulling these things apart and looking at it. So please do, in the comments, anything that you want to throw at us, please throw it there. We'll give you a shout out on the show unless you request not to. And we can sit there and answer the questions as we go on through the conversations we have. Tigger, thanks so much for joining me again for this podcast.
I'm with time constraints. I'm off from my flu jab now. Thank you as ever. Reiterating, writing questions because it's gorgeous. It's challenging, but challenging in a good way because it also, I've taken some stuff from here today and I've gone, well, actually, I might do this. And then what we're talking about, I go, I might try that. And it brings back things I've thought about in the past and forgotten about. And it's that journey. It's respecting where everybody is on that journey, learning, growing, and it's just heaven. But
absolutely,
loved it.
And anything else, if you guys have had any thoughts that have been triggered from what we discussed in this week's episode, please do put those in there as well. They can help other people. Great to have in there. Please do hit like, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so that you know when we've got new episodes coming up and other content going on the channel. We will see you again on the next episode. In the meantime, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. And hang on, I've done this for ages. So Merry Christmas for those of you that might be signers out there as well.
Hey.
It's been a while.
Happy
Take
New Year,
care, everybody.
We will see you again on the next episode. Have a great one, guys.